Hello and welcome into this special crossover edition of Locked On Capitals and Locked On Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In today's episode, I am joined by Zach Martin of Locked On Hurricanes. Zach, welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dan. Looking forward to talking around too with you. And I know we kind of had some other crossovers at some points around the network, but it's good to have our first playoff one together. Really excited about it. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And as I reflect back on this last season, it was an even series between the Capitals and the Hurricanes. And the one thing that I know for sure is that it's going to be that much more difficult. You take a look at the Hurricanes, they're on to the next round after taking down the Devils, and the Capitals taking down the Canadiens, that it is going to be quite a match, I'm sure. So going into this series in round number 2, what is the biggest storyline surrounding the Hurricanes?
I'd say probably the biggest storyline is just keeping the momentum of their special teams going, because that was the big question coming in. Was you had the number one penalty kill unit in the entire NHL, second year in a row. Same thing, ho-hum, no big deal for them on that side. But the power play, though, you were top 10 at one point. December it started to slow down a little bit. January, it completely just went ice cold. And you finished 25th in the entire league. And that was like, okay, Dan, as you know, what are the cliche things? Can you win on the road? And can your power play be productive? And that was a big question for the Canes, because their road record wasn't great either. Go on the road in game 4, check mark. Hey, that's done. Power play, how about 6 for 19 for 31%, being 5th in the entire first round? And you will gladly take that if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. On their PK, only team to go 100%, 15 for 15. So check that mark off as well. So as long as you can keep that rolling, I think the Hurricanes are going to be able to just continually build on that success. And hopefully, if this thing does go long, then at least you can probably steal a couple games here and there if you need to, or at least still be effective. So that's, for me, it's like, can you keep this power play, penalty kill, whole special teams thing going? Even if, the penalty kill is, maybe you let 1 or 2 in, because it's hard to go perfect the whole way. But as long as your power play is still getting, still being productive, I think that goes a long way for the Hurricanes to, help them in their progression for the playoffs.
So the big question that I have for you as well is about Rod Brind'Amour. He was brought in as the head coach of the team so many years ago, and I think the bar was set that much higher when Rod Brind'Amour joined the team. If you take a look at what we've seen from him so far as behind the bench, what kind of role and what has he meant for the Hurricanes, and what is the expectation for the Hurricanes? If they get eliminated here in the second round, is it considered a failure for him, or is the bar set high that it's Stanley Cup final or bust?
I would say for this, you're looking at a team who, all intents and purposes, a lot of people kind of saw this as a transition. A lot of guys that left. Some people are predicting that they make the playoffs or finish on a wild card, and they end up getting 99 points and finishing second in the Metro, top 5 in the entire East. And that's with a lot of turnover and a lot of stuff going on the trade deadline. So if they get bounced in the second round, it's not great, but hey, it's your 7th straight consecutive playoff, 7 straight playoff series wins. Yeah, that's not the end goal, but at least for the Hurricanes, even when people look down at this season as it's a transition, or how the Hurricanes is going to be, you kind of exceeded those expectations. And now you're kind of setting yourself up for a good 25-26 season. So for me, obviously the end goal is to win the cup, but Rod Brind'Amour is not going to be on a hot seat if it doesn't go the way that people thought it was too. So I think just where he's at and the success of what he's been as a coach for the Hurricanes, I don't really see them going in any other direction, because if you do get rid of him, who's really available that could take you to the next step, that what Rod Brind'Amour has done, being the first coach to go, since I think it was Red Kelly or someone's going 7 for 7, making the playoffs, winning, rounds and stuff like that. So it's just tough to you can't really move on in this instance. So for me, yeah, Rod is, depending how it goes, he's going to be in Carolina regardless. But obviously the end goal is cup. But if it's a second round exit, hey, it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but the team looked really good for next year too. So it's just another building year.
So if we take a look at it, how much pressure is on this roster? It is a bit aging. Jordan Stahl on this team. I know that you guys had Ratton in for a hot minute there. That how much pressure is on the Hurricanes roster if they are eliminated in the second round? Do you see big changes with this team, or is that not the expectation?
I don't really think there's a lot of pressure because if you look at the roster right now, I mean, the only contracts you got coming off the books are Orlov, Burns, and that's kind of really about maybe a couple forwards. So they're more of like the Jack Roslovics, Eric Robinsons. They just re-signed Frederick Anderson to a 1-year deal at less than $3 million. So that's a good, security for them to kind of roll up that tandem once again, because the goalie market right now going to free agency is kind of not that great. So now you're kind of shoring up yourself with your current tandem. And you look, and the decor is pretty much kind of already set up for next year. You got Scott Morrow, who's going to move up. You got Alexander Nikishin, who's going to have a full offseason to get ready to go. You might have to add a depth seventh defenseman. You might have to add maybe a depth forward, depending if you do bring Eric Robinson back. That would be good for him as a guy you can have in your lineup. They just extended Taylor Hall last week as well for another 3 seasons. At that point, the Hurricanes are kind of looking at, okay, who can we bring into the top 6? So there's probably going to be like one maybe huge addition. A lot of depth for the most part, but I don't see a lot of turnover with this team because pretty much you've got 11 forwards already locked up, and pretty much your whole decor is locked up too, and your 2 netminders. For me, I don't really see a whole roster turnover. It's just adding a massive key piece and then depth pieces for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, so I don't think the pressure's too great for the Hurricanes kind of as an outsider. I think the team's in a good position. I think there was kind of the thought that Ratton's gone. It's not going to be that great, but all things considered, the Hurricanes are doing great things. As far as the Capitals are concerned, you take a look at how they struggled in the latter part of the season. I know that they bounced back against the Canadiens, but the big storyline for me surrounding the Capitals is, can they keep it going? I can't forget what happened at the latter part of the season where this team struggled despite winning the Metro Division, despite winning the Eastern Conference. Can they turn that around? And also a similar question that I'll talk to you about a little bit later is in net. Can Logan Thompson continue to be dialed in? Netminding, I think, is going to be a key storyline for both teams. Freddie Anderson, you take a look at Logan Thompson and then the respective backups on our teams here. How will that fare if it's Charlie Lindgren in there, for example, for the Capitals? So netminding. And then also the big storyline for me is physicality. That is one of the strong suits of the Capitals that we saw in round number 1, where Tom Wilson took out Carrier, and that changed the series altogether in Game 4, where the Capitals, the Canadiens were kind of really throwing the kitchen sink at the Capitals, and for that big hit on Carrier, that is what turned the momentum for the Capitals. Ultimately, in a lot of ways, I think they would have still won the series, of course. But they went to Bell Center. The Canadiens took a game, and then if they would have won the second game at Bell Center, the feeling was, were they going to be able to take that momentum and push them forward? So I think that physicality, Tom Wilson, Duhaime, Dylan McElrath, if he's in the mix, that could definitely play a big role in what we see with the Capitals and the Canadiens. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about key players to look at. And listen, there is plenty of firepower on both respective teams. What are some of the big players to look at on both teams? I'll discuss straight ahead.